Welcome to the Breaking Burnout for Nurses podcast. I'm so happy you're here again with me, Eva Zobian-Wolf. So, Eva has been with me a few times before. One time she talked about yoga for non-bendy people, which is kind of an umbrella for her businesses. Another time she came on yoga, talked about yoga according to zodiac signs for nurses. So that was very interesting. A lot of good stuff in there. And then another time she came and talked about the trauma informed concept, which I learned a lot because I didn't know what that was. So anyway, if you missed those podcasts, go back and check on my YouTube channel is at Breaking Burnout 2033, and you can find all those recordings plus about 50 other recordings that I've done in the past year. But today I have Eva back. She is a CE provider for nurses, and she's been a CE provider for a couple of years already, and she has quite a few courses that she offers. And so I just want her to share a lot about that. So one thing about her topics, her courses, is that they're not just the run-of-the-mill CE course that you just want to zoom through and just get your CEs. I mean, you might want to do that too, but you know how we just want to zoom through and get our credits, right? But her topics are so interesting that you're going to definitely want to zoom in there and actually learn about them. So a lot of it has to do with her yoga for non-bendy people and for trauma-informed consent, and even tell you. I want you to go ahead and tell us some of the topics that you cover. First of all, back up. So you can find her CE courses under Yoga for Non-Bendy People, and the name of her CE provider business is called Eva Z Wellness. So it's EVAZEE Wellness, WELLNESS. And so, yeah, Eva, just share some of the topics that you have covered with your provider, CE provider, so the nurses can get some interesting CE credits.
Absolutely. And Bonnie, thank you so much for having me again on the podcast. What you're doing is incredibly important. Nurses are burnt out, and the system is not designed to help us learn how to navigate our nervous system, learn to understand how to prevent burnout, how to advocate for ourselves, how to speak confidently, or how to establish healthy boundaries. And through my own burnout journey and becoming a yoga therapist, I learned a lot of tools in how to navigate different situations with more ease, more tolerance, more responsiveness that I didn't have 10 years ago. So this is a really weird example that just happened this week, actually. I went in for a little minor procedure, and the nurse had one of those heat packs. And you know how sometimes the heat packs can be really resistant to activating, and we'll kind of squeeze them, we'll pop them on the counter or do things like that. I'm laying on the bed, and the nurse grabs the heat pack, throws it on the floor to pop it, and then grabs it and goes to put it onto my stomach. And I looked at her and I said, "Please don't." And that was, my voice didn't raise. I didn't yell at her. I didn't,
Oh my goodness.
My response was, "Please don't put that on my body." In that tone, in that level of volume. And then I said, I've worked in hospitals for 20 years, and floors are the most disgusting surface. Nothing that touches the floor should be put onto my body. And
Exactly.
yeah, I didn't yell at
Wow, I can't believe
her. Yes. And I can't believe that just happened.
Yeah.
Has nursing changed that much since I stepped away from the bedside that now we're doing that? What's going on here? So again, this is another opportunity for a CE of what are the appropriate surfaces for if something drops on the floor. There's no 5-second rule in nursing, right? There's no,
Exactly.
I dropped it on the floor. No, go get another one. And we're gonna do this a little bit differently. So the courses that I offer are what do nurses need? How do I mentor a new nurse? How do I use trauma-informed communication? How do I make my patients feel seen and heard and believed in the way that I communicate with them? My language has changed considerably in the last 10 years. I'm very cautious about the words that I use, and I don't even really like that. I'm going to flip that around. You hear me. I change them as something comes out. I'm like, oh, I don't like the way that came out. Let me change that. I am very intentional about the way that I use my language so that when I'm talking with someone, they do feel seen and heard and believed. And if I'm not in a good space, I'm saying that, I have zero bandwidth for any type of, I'm firing on 3 pistons. I'm hungry. I need to eat. I'm needing to go to bed early. Any conversations need to wait until tomorrow. Things like that. It's just, how do we language things where it's not, you're making me crazy. Instead, it's, okay, I'm listening to my body and I don't have the capacity to be able to have an intense conversation. And so how do we establish boundaries? How do we say no? And that's it.
But you're communicating it.
How do we create healthy boundaries? And as nurses, a lot of us have struggled with this for years of, I've got to make sure that I'm caring. I've got to control everything. How many of us have willed a patient to continue breathing for a while because family members weren't there yet? And we wanted to make sure that family members could be with the person. It's that level of, that's the weight that we're carrying on our shoulders. And that doesn't leave when we leave the bedside. So what are the tools? What are the resources? How do we remind ourselves that we are our first and most important patient? And what are the practices that we need to do? So I bring yoga therapy into the classes that I offer. How to speak confidently when you're calling doctors, how to speak confidently when you're talking with family members, how to have boundaries, how to use breathing techniques for yourself so that when you walk out of one patient's room, you take that moment to and step out of the version of you that was in that room and a new version that's not carrying all that weight walks in to the next patient's room, and you're not taking any frustration, any grief, any anger, and then bringing it into the conversation that you have in the next room. How to give yourself that space to let an experience land for a second in your body and maybe even shake it off a little bit and then walk in, right? It's the practices of how do you be your best version of yourself and also rest, rejuvenate, be with your family, be with your friends, and be present in the moment. How do you bring whimsy and joy into your life? How do you get better sleep habits so that when you are at home and you're getting sleep, you're waking up feeling rested and rejuvenated and not immediately, okay, what do I need to keep my eyelids open for the rest of the day? And learning how to use those. There's a lot of courses that I teach on improving sleep, improving energy, breath practices that you can use in the middle of your day when you can't step away to get an energy drink or a coffee or a snack. But you have a breath practice that you can do real quick that increases energy or brings you into balance or softens your nervous system enough to not get reactive and then remain responsive. And also, there's a lot of things that we learned in nursing school that we understand the concept of it, but not necessarily the application of it. So what happens in our parasympathetic nervous system? What does vagal toning mean? You hear a lot of these buzzwords of neurosomatic practices, vagus nerve, polyvagal. What does that mean for nurses? And it's something as simple as the magic is in the exhale. When you exhale, we're tapping into our parasympathetic nervous system. The whole last year that I was working in the ICU, every time somebody said something to me, I no clue I was doing that until my husband said, "Why are you so huffy?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You are massively exhaling all the time."
And you didn't realize it.
Nope. And it was, there was a lot of burnout symptoms that I had, inability to listen to music that had any type of vocals in it. Anything where people were singing, it was too much noise. I worked in the ICU and I worked night shift. So my nervous system was fried. I didn't go into nursing with the greatest nervous system. So there's a lot, even now, when there's somebody mowing the lawn nearby, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's too much noise. So I put noise canceling headphones on, or I go to a coffee shop so that, it's one of those things that how do we live life and be kind and compassionate and also use tools and resources? And that's a big component, is being receptive to support. Because nurses, how many times have you said this? I can do it. I'm fine. I don't need any help.
Oh, yes. I still have to work on that sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm good. I'm fine.
Yes. And instead, take that long exhale and I'm not okay, but I'll be okay. Or I'm not okay, I need to talk about it. Or one of the things that I've been talking about a lot lately is the amount of rage that I have been carrying in me. And my husband, it was funny because he said, "Are you okay? Do you need to see somebody?" And I said, "Why are you asking?" Well, you're talking a lot about rage these days, and you seem like you're doing okay, but you're talking about it a lot. And I said, yeah, because other people are carrying it and not talking about it and not knowing what to do about it. And it's one of those practices of, okay, how do I recognize this amount of energy is in me? And then what do I do to expel the energy in a healthy way? And this is why rage rooms are growing up. It's a growing business. They're all over the place, where you can go into a room and break dishes and use a sledgehammer on things. what do you need to do? Do you need to go for a run? Do you need to go for a walk? Do you need to go in the bedroom and scream for a moment?
Well,
It's
at least he's listening to you. He does listen to you, and he's kind of a sounding board sometimes, it sounds like. So that's good that
yes,
he's that for you, and
yes.
you're that for him also.
Absolutely. And so our CE courses, you talked about this, our CE courses, we've been doing these for decades. And every time we go to renew our license, we're taking CEs that are basically just, let me check the box. I need one
Mm-hmm.
for this. I need one for that. And instead, how can CE courses be nourishing,
Mm-hmm.
helpful, supportive, improve your life as a person and also as a nurse? How can we improve patient outcomes? One of the CE courses that I have is an introduction on Reiki energy and how can nurses utilize that concept either by being a Reiki practitioner themselves or by recognizing that it exists and having, so there's many hospitals that have Reiki practitioners on staff or volunteers that can come in and provide Reiki services to patients. And patient outcomes with Reiki are phenomenal because it helps to reduce inflammation, it helps to reduce anxiety, and it improves healing by allowing the person's body to be in a receptive state to the interventions and practices that they're participating in.
Okay, that sounds like a CE class that I want to take.
Yay.
I really don't know about Reiki. I might have to have you come back and talk about that. But I'm glad that you have that as a course. It's not the typical, not that we don't need all the other courses like on orthopedics or med surg or all those things. We could all use that information too. But it just sounds like you have a lot more options that are not typical CE course. So very exciting. So Eva, I want to thank you again for being on my show, and I want to remind everybody that you could find her CE courses under the Yoga for Non-Bendy People.com, and the name of her CE provider business is called Eva Z Wellness. So again, Eva, did you want to say anything else?
Oh, well, people can follow me on social media under Eva
Perfect.
Z Wellness or Yoga for Non-Bendy People. And then the website is yogafornonbendypeople.com. There are courses, CE courses that are offered for nurses through the Yoga for Non-Bendy People membership. There's one CE a month that's included in their membership. And I also have different bundles based on what you're interested in.
Perfect. Wow. You got it going on, girl. Thank you so much again. And everybody, come back next Monday for we are breaking burnout here. Bye-bye.
Bye.